attitude, love of simple gardens, and decades of experience, Charlie Dimmock is one of Britain's best-loved gardeners.
Fire pit there, water feature bubbling away there.
But the Rich brothers are the new trendsetters. Winners of multiple medals at the Chelsea Flower Show.
Valiant job.
The boys have become known for their dramatic outdoor spaces. Now these two different generations of gardening are going head-to-head.
They may have a few gold medals, but I've got one or two tricks up my sleeve.
They're meeting frustrated garden owners across the country.
Like a driveway. I wasn't going to say that.
And will each pitch them a design based on their needs
Wow.
and budget.
Let's hope they choose us.
The winner brings their design to life, and the loser
Come on, friend.
has to help them build it.
Oh, that's just me, isn't it?
This is what happens
Who designed this garden? Stupid person.
when different styles collide
Oh, dear, you geeks.
to turn garden dreams into reality.
It's like walking down some stately home. It's beautiful.
It's time for Charlie and the Rich brothers to find out about today's garden challenge.
Here we have Kieran and Becky, and they're from Chippenham. And their garden, as it stands, is quite a boring square plot of land. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's definitely in need of a bit of a repair.
Kieran and Becky, along with their baby daughter Darcy, aren't too keen on their garden either.
It's pretty barren, isn't it?
It's just an open space with no shade, no flowers.
No, there's no colour at all, is there? It's just green. And just a patio that's falling apart, loose paving slabs that really drive us mad.
I mean, it's got things going on, but they're all quite sort of, there's a bit of patio there, there's a bit of planting there.
As well as wanting some structure and order in the garden, the couple has a hobby that they'd like to use it for.
They love cooking, and I would say the garden, really, the heart of the garden needs to be kind of cookery themed.
A place where we can cook outside and entertain with others.
Cooking with friends or just romantic dinners maybe when Darcy's in bed. Yeah, and just to make the most of having the space. We're looking for somewhere where we can grow vegetables so that we've got that kind of farm to fork aspect of the garden.
It is all about using it. You know, if it's socially, if it's, growing vegetables.
That's quite nice. So it's not all about a garden that you look at, it looks pretty, it's got to be working produce as well as the
Yes.
entertainment space and being out there.
That's lovely though, isn't it? A garden that does all that. I think that would be perfect space.
Kieran and Becky are keen to make the most of their decent-sized garden.
It's very hot, very sunny.
Any shade, have we? Should we go and take you back? It's a south-facing garden, so we get the sun a lot and it's intense. So a bit of shade would be really good.
Yeah, we'd like the garden to be a space where we can obviously enjoy each other's company as well as Darcy's. Spend time playing in the garden together.
So what's the budget? So the budget's £5,000.
That's good.
Good, happy with that? Yeah. So by the look of it, we can probably give them everything they want.
To find out whether they will indeed be able to give Kieran and Becky everything they want, designers head to the Wiltshire town of Chippenham to cast an expert eye over the couple's garden.
It's a lovely size. It is, great size. I mean, for the budget, it's a fantastic size garden.
Very square though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Very
I
square.
like the shape actually. Super blank canvas. Well, the patio looks pretty miserable still, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't really call it a patio, can you? Slab of concrete.
Slab of concrete. Practical slab. And then the level changes a bit.
Yeah.
Upsetting on the eye.
Exciting this
It's
one,
exciting,
isn't it?
It's blank enough to, let us
Do
be
what you
creative.
want. Just hope that the soil's good. It looks good because that tree peony wouldn't be that good, but we need good soil for the vegetables.
Should we go see if it's less blank inside?
Yeah, I think
We
so.
can get some good, rich ideas.
I'll check the tree peony out. It is gorgeous.
While the brothers head into the house to search for inspiration,
Oh, it's got a nice feeling, isn't it? It's kind of open plan, but not. Yes, a nice balance.
Charlie quizzes Becky and Kieran in the garden.
There's kind of three main areas that we wanted to sort of address, really. One is the seating area. It's very shallow, so when we go out there, you pretty much have to sit in a line, which is not very social.
Right, first thing is these piles of cookbooks. I know, there's loads of them. They're mostly obsessed with cooking. And actually, gardens do nothing for them because if that's what they're so passionate about, get some veggies, get some fruit, get some berries in there.
Produce in the garden?
Yeah, we'd like a veg patch if possible.
patch?
Yeah, to grow some herbs and veg.
Well, it definitely has a really nice kind of cottagey vibe, doesn't it? With all these kind of baskets. It's very traditional, isn't it? I can imagine when they come in from a walk, it's almost like having a little welly bench, bit of coat on there, these lovely baskets, nice rustic materials. But I feel also here it's got that slight touch of modern as well, like the mirror. It's definitely a modern twist as well. Yeah, it's definitely not strictly cottage, so we'll have to think about how we can include that. I feel there's one thing missing from this scene, isn't there? What's that?
Maintenance-wise, I mean, vegetables are never low maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the vegetable patch, we would probably have the motivation to do it and the interest. With the garden and flowers, we're not gardeners, as you can see, so
Well,
nothing too complicated.
look at that tree peony. Absolutely beautiful. You're not meant to prune it, but you obviously do.
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah.
So,
don't know what to do.
you're unlikely to kill a plant by pruning it. What you're likely to do is not get any flowers that year. Okay, especially if it's really established like that. So you learn from your mistakes. And that, when you're new to gardening, that's one of the best ways of learning.
Definitely get a sense of this house has got that cottage. It might be quite subtle, but it's definitely there. They definitely like that. It's got lovely natural materials, very cosy, but with a modern influence. Yeah, key. Lovely, lovely.
Now, you've just had a baby, haven't you?
Yes, Darcy.
Darcy. So, I mean, you've got a sort of a lawn at the moment.
Yeah.
Did you want some lawn?
Definitely want to keep some lawn so she can run around and play. We get a lot of sun.
Lot of sun.
We'll need some shade.
I mean, even now it's slightly overcast, but I can feel the sun, and it feels like it goes literally nearly all day.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right. Well, it's great because you've got a really healthy budget. It's a really nice sized garden. Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to come up with something for you.
Kieran and Becky's garden is hot, exposed, and bereft of flowers. It's pretty much a blank canvas, which the couple hopes the designers can colour in with their ideas. So, it's time to get the creative juices flowing. Charlie and the Rich brothers will each come up with a design that meets the couple's needs for a child-friendly, productive space that can grow with their family. The £5,000 budget will cover the cost of materials and plants, while Charlie, the Rich brothers, and their team of landscapers will provide the labour. Becky and Kieran will make their choice of garden, and the losing designer will work alongside the winner to bring it to life. In Chippenham, it's time for the designers to pitch their ideas. Charlie has discovered that Kieran and Becky want a space where they can tend to their veg patch while baby Darcy plays in the shade.
Kieran, Becky, you're after a garden, really a family garden, entertainment space, relaxation space, and lots of vegetables.
Oh, wow.
David and Harry have learned that the couple's taste is for a combination of cottage style
Hi guys.
and contemporary touches.
So this is our design.
Oh, wow.
So we know that you wanted to have a garden that's going to grow with your new family, somewhere that's going to give you lots of produce, but also lots of space that you can sit out in and you can enjoy. So we've given it a kind of cottage theme, but with quite a lot of strong lines. It's going to link quite nicely with a bit more of your modern interior. And we've divided the garden up into different spaces.
I've created 3 zones to the garden. And this is the entertainment space. We then come up to the working bit of the garden here. So this is the vegetable area, utility area, and then the lawn.
Both designers have recognised that the couple wants a number of different things from their garden, so each has taken a zonal approach to their designs. How will they address the entertaining space?
This area is the slightly kind of formal seating area. That's going to be like a gravel, like a bound gravel. But then also we've got some herringbone brick paving as well.
So let's talk about your entertainment area. I got the impression you didn't like sitting in the lines, so I've made this a big circular area with the seating built in. So there's enough space there to get a dining room table if you wanted to, or a patio table. Then a shade over the top. You know when you go on holiday and you sit at the beach and they've got that almost like bamboos, the slats, and you get that light shade? So that's what I've gone for there. So you can either sit in the shade when you're entertaining or out in the sunshine.
The designs so far are both offering formal seating and dining zones, but Charlie's added a means of shading the space something the couple were particularly keen on. How have the brothers dealt with that issue?
One of the things we really wanted to put into the garden were peach trees, and they worked really nicely for a couple of reasons. So we know that you really wanted shade when you were sitting down, and obviously the sun comes in quite heavily into the garden. So these peach trees being here along this line, they're going to help to prevent too much sun on the seating area. This front area of the garden is more of a kind of traditional cottage courtyard. And then as you wander through into the large part of the garden, here it's more tailored around produce. And we wanted to create a kind of traditional kind of kitchen garden, somewhere that's framed by some hedging. And then inside them, we've given you a lovely kind of patchwork of vegetable beds for you guys to grow your own vegetables. It's that kind of from plot to plate kind of thing.
But you then go into what I would say the working bit of the garden, the vegetables. So I've got 4 raised vegetable beds, which makes it easier to maintain, with pathways in between. Things like cauliflowers, carrots, herbs, all in there. But I wanted to make it pretty. So we've got this metal archway that leads up the garden path with lavender on this side, and then I thought we could grow some climbing roses, so that will make this like almost a scented tunnel of flowers, different roses climbing up, and then a little seating area, and then I've got shrubs on this side. You are going to have bicycles, you are going to have footballs. Shrubs will put up with things crashing into them. Spin, a potting up bench, and then a little cold frame for bringing on your seedlings. And then you've got your lawn area.
Kieran and Becky were clear about their wish to grow produce, and both designs have catered for that. The brothers have integrated the veg patch into the heart of the garden, while Charlie is suggesting a working zone, as well as some child-proof planting. And she can't resist a final flourish.
And in the middle of this, I've got a little water feature, child safe, so the water just drops into a bowl and then drops down into a reservoir. So that bowl will be great for Darcy to put her hands in, but also it'll be really good for the birds to come in.
And then on the right-hand side, we thought it'd be lovely to link in with the pleached apple trees, but to have some kind of more semi-dwarf apple trees. Something that's going to give you a nice bit of produce. Maybe you can mix them, have a cooker and an eater. Something that's going to give you that lovely bit of productivity, which is really important in the garden. Perfect, brilliant, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, that looks so good.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I will leave you thinking.
The pitches are over, and it's time for Kieran and Becky to consider their options.
It's a really tough decision. So, well, they're both really impressive, aren't they? It's going to be really hard to choose. I don't really know where to start.
I think this is going to be a real difficult one for them. Very different designs, I think.
Don't tell me you went all curvy lines.
Yeah, circles, and I bet you were all squares.
Yeah, regimented straight lines, lots of them. Softness around the edges, but
Right.
the garden itself is very straight.
So I guess with the boys, really clean kind of design, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It kind of fits our style. I quite like the vegetable patch, the way it's the cross.
Yeah, the kitchen garden. I really like that.
Form contemporary.
Yeah, that kind of mix, that kind of linking with a slightly modern house, but then that cottage vibe that they wanted, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how big the lawn would be on that.
Yeah, that's my only slight worry is there's not enough lawn, maybe. Charlie's designer, that's got a lot more lawn. So it'd be ideal for Darcy with a big seating area.
Yeah, and I like the way that vegetable patch is done, and that tunnel intrigues me as well, to kind of know how that would look in our garden,
I've got a big circular seating area.
Oh, wow, nice. Have you got some veggies in yours?
So, yeah, I've got traditional raised veg beds, but I have got like a compost bin area, a cold frame, and a potting up bench.
Very nice.
And the storage area at the back for compost, potting. Be really good for Darcy as the seating area at the top as well.
Yeah, well, the only worry I've got with this one is the seating area. I'm not convinced by the shade. I'm not sure
How much that will
how much
cover.
it will, but there are other bits of shade on the trees.
So how did you give them some shade? I went with a cantilever.
Through the pleached trees.
Oh, peach trees.
Natural screening, loads of interest, but also provides a nice bit of shade. We've got loads of fruit trees and berry bushes.
Along with the trees, the fruit trees.
Yeah, you do like a fruit tree, don't you? Yeah, it's. I really don't know which one.
It's a tough choice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, so the curves are straight line.
Yeah.
Have you got an idea in mind?
leaning more towards one. What about you?
The same. I've got one in mind, yeah.
Hopefully we're aligned then.
It's time to break the news of their choice. Will they choose the Rich Brothers' modern take on cottage style, with bleached fruit trees and a kitchen garden? Or will they be tempted by Charlie's generous lawn, well-ordered working garden and water feature?
Look sharp. Hello.
You're doing all right?
Hello.
Okay, it was a really difficult decision because we really liked both designs. We felt they both matched the brief, but they were also really different to each other, so that made it even harder.
But we have made our decision. And,
Nice. So the straight lines won it over.
the kicker for me was the fruit trees. I've always wanted fruit trees.
Nice. Yeah.
I like the herringbone. That'll be nice.
Yeah. Just add that nice little cottage charm to it, which would be nice. Bit of character into the space. And you'll be growing vegetables.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hopefully edible.
Harry and David are delighted to have won the pitch. But with a big task ahead, they know they're going to need Charlie's help to pull it off.
We can't wait. Really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one.
It's the morning of the build, and the landscaping team has arrived to make a start.
Well, let's get this thing done.
Andy, the project manager, landscape strongman Gruff, Joe with the tools, plantswoman Rosie, and bringing up the rear, it's Paul.
We are in Chippenham. It's nice there, isn't it? West Country. We've got Kieran and Becky's garden the Rich Brothers have designed. So the main body of the work here is this herringbone path. Just hang on to that side, Joe. This path here, which comes out of these doors there, look. And then up in the middle of the garden, there's another seating area here. You can see we've got all this concrete down here, which is this bit here. So we've got to get a bunch of that out. I know you like the demolition hammer, Rosie. So you want that job? Great. All right. Awesome. Right. You can do that one. But really, the big body of the work is this clay pavers. So I think we need to crack on with that. We need to get that bit dug out there, ready to start laying those in. Let's get on.
So while Paul starts taking up the old
So basically, I'm setting up a string line to get a proper square off of the house. So I'm running a string line down the side of the building to run all the way down the garden, and then we're going to measure off of that to all the points we need, so that we know that everything's dead square with the house.
Is this going to stay up for a long time?
No. It's just to get the line for the other side of the garden, and then we can take it down.
I'm just getting ready to do a high jump.
What is it? Sports day?
Yeah, egg and spoon.
Yay!
I was rubbish at that.
The old sack?
Yes.
We can do that one. We've got sacks. Yeah.
Joe's unearthed a couple of old railway sleepers that were being used as edging for some long-forgotten flower borders and were destined for the skip.
Actually, I've looked at them and they're really, really nice. Hopefully we could do some of these in the garden. Plant them up. Drill some holes, put a little pot on. Maybe sink them in the ground. Quite nice.
Andy and Gruff are marking out the kitchen garden zone. The Rich Brothers design is all about straight lines, so it's important the angles and measurements are spot on.
There we go. Edge of the bed.
Especially for the herringbone pattern seating area.
So this is the path for the herringbone. It's going to run up there, through here, then there's going to be a paving area in there, and then these are all going to be vegetable beds around.
With the beds and the path marked out, Paul fires up the turf cutter. But there's a problem. The ground's too hard.
It's baking hot here. That's the reason why this turf cutter won't work. It's just bouncing off the top, so unfortunately it's all hands to shovels again and taking that bit of turf off.
It's over 30 degrees Celsius, and in a garden with no shade, it's grueling work.
Right. Where's the action?
While the others continue to tackle the turf, Rosie's got a different job.
You guys have your spades.
Now the real work starts.
Yeah.
is that it's just too hot, and the team is finding that out the hard way.
Baking this garden, isn't it, Gruff? I mean, it's like,
That's really nice.
I mean, talk about sun trap. Unbelievable.
Fortunately, relief is at hand.
No loud, there's no shade in here whatsoever.
The structure of the new garden is beginning to take shape. The old concrete patio that Rosie demolished can be put to good use as a base layer. The brothers' design raises the level of the new seating zone so that it's flush with the rest of the garden. In the kitchen garden, the central zone, a layer of compacted hardcore provides a stable base for their herringbone paving. The designers have arrived to get their teeth into the build.
This garden is all about creating a lovely traditional space for them. Something that has, that mix of vegetables, perennials, some lovely textured bricks.
You seem to have an awful lot of bricks, I have to say.
All the paving. It's going to be gorgeous and it goes at this end.
Right.
Fantastic. So we've got all that paving to do. We've got these trees to go in. We've got hedging. We've got planting.
So what am I doing?
You're going to be kind of lurking around the garden, finding some recycled materials to upcycle.
Okay.
So you'll be all about kind of creating little items inside the garden.
Okay, that sounds all right. So you're promising me a nice, easy day then?
Yes, always.
Good, but it's on tape now, you said that.
Ooh, look at this. Wow, you can really see the shape of it all, can't you? This is a garden of contradictions. On one hand, you have a lovely formal space, defined lines and lovely structure. And then on the other hand, you have this informal quality. And this main area that we're in now is going to be the patio area, the biggest sitting area within the garden. It's going to feel nice and formal, quite structured, but like I mentioned, with softer edges. And one of the main things that Kieran and Becky wanted was for the garden to feel less exposed and also have a little bit of shade. So that's why we're including some peach trees along this line here. That's what I'm going to be up to. That's what you're going to be on, yeah? But within this seating area, the main surface is a nice bound gravel, which gives that lovely working cottage garden feeling. But also, we're going to have some lovely herringbone brick paving, and that's going to mark the entrance into the rest of the garden. And as you wander up into the garden, the formality continues. So you've got these lovely defined paths that help to section out these individual planting pockets. So it's vegetables and perennials mixed together, and another little seating area. And then at the back of the garden then, we've left this area for a kind of more of a foraging area. Very natural, undefined, long grass, kind of little orchard and native shrubs. And that's going to be gorgeous. Lovely. Well, I'm going to get on paving this path.
A central feature of the brothers' design is the herringbone paving in the kitchen garden zone, which will be flanked by planting beds.
And when you think of a traditional working cottage garden, what comes to mind is brick paving or brick sets, like so much using them on their side as well. Now, in preparation for this herringbone path, what the landscapers have done is they've laid a couple of inches of hardcore, like this here, and then on top of that hardcore, we've got 1 to 2 inches of this sharp sand. And this sharp sand is key because we're going to create a flat surface in which to lay these bricks on. And then afterwards, we're going to fill the joints in with kiln-dried sand, and that's going to help bind it all together and make it nice and solid.
David makes a start on the herringbone paving. It's a big job. The two areas require more than 1,500 bricks at a cost of over £1 apiece. And Charlie has found something to upcycle.
I'm going to be using pallets left over from the bricks that David is laying. And although the boys are making that side of the garden really pretty, in all gardens you're going to end up with things that aren't so pretty, like a compost bin. So I've got a framework there. When you position your compost bin, do remember that when things break down, it releases lots of liquid. So if you go and put it on a patio area, you'll find you'll get all this brown liquid seeping out and it will stain your patio and your paving. It's best to put your compost bin on soil or gravel so that that liquid drains away. It's really good juice as such because it's full of nutrients, so going into the soil, it's fantastic. And when it comes to composting things, there's a bit of a science to it, but more about that once it's finished.
Dave, looking good, looking good. Cheers, hey. Stunning, lovely bricks, aren't they? Gorgeous, all the variations of colour in them. I love the ones with the darker here, with the black and the whites on it. Yeah. So nice, isn't it? It's actually really easy. It's all in preparation, isn't it, I suppose? Exactly.
Harry is battling with the sun-baked soil to prepare the ground for planting. One of the main selling points of the design is the use of bleached trees to create shade in this sunny garden.
Oh, that's better than it looks. I get that in. You get that in, I'll make it.
But first they have to get them there.
Lovely.
These trees have straightened branches, which have been trained along canes to meet at the top and become entwined. It's a specialist process, which means they cost a little more. These three were just over £700. The branches form a flat plane, and as the trees grow, they'll throw much-needed dappled shade in Becky and Kieran's hot garden.
Oh, look, he's got a love heart.
Aww.
Still my beating heart.
Harry will space the trees just over a metre apart, which means the branches of one tree will easily reach the next.
Well, that's the bleach trees in, and it's always lovely just to get them in line, just to see how they start to look together. And, you know, as you can see, I'm already under the shade, and that's exactly what Becky and Kieran wanted, especially for young Darcy. That shade is vital in this garden.
These trees will produce an abundance of fruit.
Here we've got the commis pear and the crab apple, and they're both going to do very similar things throughout the year. Crab apple has this tiny fruit, which is great for making jellies, whereas the commis pear is a lovely dessert pear.
David's paving is coming along apace. This herringbone pattern, named for its apparent resemblance to the bones of a fish, is a broken zigzag of rectangular blocks and is used in traditional flooring both inside and out.
What's great about using a natural material like this is actually all of its imperfections. That really makes it very characterful. So you see there's the main rhythm of colour is the brick colour, the red, that's maroon and orange. But actually in between you get these lovely colours here. You've got a bit more white, a bit of the darker black. And this is actually from the minerals that you find within the brick itself. So maybe that's a bit more salt, that could be a bit more iron, something like that. And it just brings it out in the process of making it. I think that's what really adds to its beauty.
Meanwhile, at the back of the garden, Charlie's fixing chicken wire to the inside of her compost bin.
It's actually quite good having a compost bin that breathes, lets the air in, because all those microorganisms that break down all the vegetation and that need oxygen, so it needs to get in nice and easily. What we will do is put a cover on the top, just a piece of thick polythene, because you want to seal that heat in, so you're basically cooking all the compost, and that will help sterilise and kill off any weed seedlings as well.
Harry and David's design for the garden was a marriage of formality and cottage style. The planting areas in the kitchen garden zone will be bounded by evergreen hedging, and Rosie's planting an army of little yews, which will soon grow into a defined border.
Only 85 more to go.
The paving has all been laid, so the bricks need to be squared off to ensure a clean line. Paul uses a circular saw to slice through the bricks, while Gruff uses the hose to damp down the dust. Finally, Gruff can get in there with his hammer and chisel and neaten it all up. Charlie's tackling the front of her compost bin.
Cutting the boards, so build up the compost, they just slot one more in, one more in, one more in, and when they come to dig it out, they just pull it out again. So very, very simple, but effective. And then I'm going to cap off the top, so that they can put their mug of tea on there while they're doing the gardening. And the radio, because when you're gardening in the veggie patch, you always need a mug of tea and the radio, especially tuned to Radio 4.
On the opposite side of the garden, David is embarking on another important job. He's planting a selection of apple trees.
This garden is all about produce, so we really wanted to incorporate a mini orchard. Now within this orchard we've got 4 trees, all different varieties, but this one here is really special. So this is Darcy Spice, and of course, from the name, that's why we chose it. So what our plan is, plant Darcy Spice now, and Then in 3 years, when it fruits the first time, little Darcy will be able to wander through and pick the apples herself.
While Joe works away at the gravel seating zone that runs along the back of the house, Andy's laying the herringbone brick patio outside the back door.
Here you go.
And Charlie's making herself useful.
Gonna be your last load for a bit. I've got other things to do. But it's very satisfying being noisy.
Joe wants to show Charlie what she salvaged earlier.
Right, here we go. Sleeper. Oh, look. With a nice bit of couch grass growing through it.
Yeah.
Rustic. What are we thinking? Pile it up.
That gave me the idea. You plant it up.
Plant it up.
Okay.
Yeah?
You can either make some holes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to get much of a root ball in there. So alpines would work, wouldn't they? Nice,
Yeah.
small, look pretty. Right, these sleepers then, you. I'm going to plant them up with alpines and thyme.
Yeah.
But where are we putting them?
In the corner there, amongst the meadow.
Harry's approved Joe's idea, so Charlie gets to work with a hole cutter, drilling some planting gaps in the sleepers.
Starting a little bonfire here. You sure you didn't want a fire pit? Woohoo! Well, that's warm. Look at that.
But then she thinks better of it.
Oh, look at that. Oh, make it into a canoe. And I just plant it out this way, boys.
The sleeper will act as an edge to the wildflower meadow on the right-hand side of the garden.
I'm going to use a mixture of their soil and some potting compost. Because I'm using alpines, they actually like quite a poor soil, and so do thymes. But as it's quite a restricted space, I'm just going to mix some compost in with it as well.
Charlie's added plenty of grit so that the soil drains freely, creating the ideal conditions for
Erodium makes like a mat, and it will put up being quite dry. Self-seed as well, so it'll creep into the lawn, especially on the meadowy side. Very pretty. And of course, they're into their cooking, so thyme, yum, 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 yum. When you're planting alpines, they like to be in full sun, which this bit of the garden is because all the shades sort of down that end of the garden, which is also good for the thymes. So all that aromatic oils that are in the leaves are concentrated, so you get more of a hit of the flavour. Thrift, sea thrift. This is sort of tufted pink flowers, makes a hummock of foliage. It's quite cute. Well, that's that little project done.
All the new plants will need a good drink, especially in hot weather like this.
You spent a lot of money on a plant. It makes sense to water it in properly.
Andy has nearly finished the herringbone brick patio outside the back door. Paul is creating a clean finish to the paving in the kitchen garden zone by laying a row of bricks alongside and haunching them in with mortar. And Charlie's on another upcycling mission.
There we go. Now, I've had a little bit of an idea with this wheelbarrow. My idea is to make a bit of a feature of it by combining it as a planter, but also a bit of a sandpit for Darcy. So I've made up a little wooden frame, but first of all I need to put some holes in it so it drains. Now, I'm not going to put the holes at the very, very bottom because I find most people, when it comes to containers, especially in the summertime, don't water enough. So I'm going to drill the holes slightly up, so when they do water, a little bit of water will build up in the bottom, not too much, just about ½ an inch, and that will act as a reservoir for the plants, and it will also keep the sand damp, because you know what it's like when you're playing in a sandpit. The damp sand is better because you can make castles out of it. If it's too dry, you can't.
The garden is a hive of activity. David's removing turf to create the veg beds. Joe's finishing the gravel seating area along the back of the house. And Andy's brushing kiln-dried sand into the herringbone paving to lock the bricks together. And Charlie's planted up her decorative sand pit. She's chosen Felicia, or blue daisies, which are very long flowering, and mint. Charlie's using sharp sand at the bottom, but tops it up with play sand, which is finer and more pure. Just the thing for tiny hands.
That sounds a bit for Darcy, but I can see Mum and Dad having hours of fun with it as well. It's lovely, look. Ooh, look at that. It's quite therapeutic.
The kitchen garden is ready to be planted up. As well as the more usual tomatoes and herbs, the brothers have opted to plant some sweet corn.
Now this is early gold, so you're actually going to get sweet corn a little bit earlier than your normal sweet corn. You're going to get it about August, so we'll also pick that crop, and it'll be lovely to put on the barbecue. Now the key thing to remember when you're planting sweet corn is not to plant them too far apart or in a line. These guys are actually wind pollinated, so you plant them in quite a close clump or a block. I've planted these about 6 to 8 inches apart, and we've got a 3 by 4 block. So that's going to be perfect for them to hit each other. That's all you need to do, really. Simple.
The rest of the planting is well underway, and the final job is to lay the wildflower turf. And there's a welcome spot of rain to water it in. A last bit of tidying, and the garden is finished.
Oh, dynamic.
Kieran and Becky were uninspired by their Wiltshire garden. A lack of shade and drab outlook meant that they and their baby daughter Darcy spent very little time in it. But now, thanks to the Rich Brothers design, their blank canvas has become a beautiful picture. Warm brick herringbone paving costing £1,500 provides 2 distinct seating areas. Charlie's wheelbarrow sandpit wildflower lawn, costing £350, offer plenty to interest a growing child. A rich mixture of planting, costing £2,000, includes elegant bleached pears and crab apples, colourful perennials, fruit trees and shrubs. And a kitchen garden-style veg patch will transform everyday cooking into a homegrown pleasure. What will the couple make of transformation?
3, 2, 1, open your eyes.
Oh wow.
Sweet.
It's different, isn't it? Very.
I'm just trying to take it all in.
What strikes you first? What can you
The
see
trees.
first? Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll give us really good shade.
The trees give lots of shade on this lower seating area. And shade was a big thing.
This is the main kind of dining area, or the large. Right, well, this is the area where we've got that secondary seating space. So where you can venture out, and, if you do want a bit of sun, you can have your little round table, either a coffee table or a small dining table. You can all sit around it together next to the veggies.
Yeah, it's bigger actually, this space, than what I imagined we were going to get. So.
And then we've got the one planting bed, perennials, so it's going to give lots of interest and colour. Then the other 2 then, we've planted up with lots of vegetables for you, so giving you a head start.
Yeah.
And we've got corn, we've got tomatoes, we've got cabbage, sweet peas. Yeah, sweet peas over there as well. So there's loads of varieties in there. And Charlie was hard at work as well. The wheelbarrow that you guys had, she's put some lovely little bedding plants in there and also a little sandpit as well for later on. So again, it's the idea of playing in the garden, but in a kind of contained environment.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, yeah. Creative, yeah.
I'm sure Darcy will enjoy digging around. Maybe not yet. Next year.
We've got a mini orchard over there. We've got one apple tree that's called Darcy's Place.
Oh.
So we would ask, guys, do you feel like it's worth the money?
Yeah, I totally do.
Yeah, there's no way we could have done it on our own.
No way,
No.
With the garden rescue team having packed up and left them alone, Becky and Kieran have had a chance to take stock.
It hasn't sunk in actually that it's our garden. It feels a bit like we're almost visiting somebody else. Because I just can't imagine actually owning it and being ours. I really love the garden. I can't wait to actually get in it tomorrow.